I'm pleased to be joined by New York Yankees legend, Cleveland Indians legend, Milwaukee Brewers legend, and Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, and also now Major League Baseball broadcaster, both with Netflix for opening day and NBC as they enter into Sunday night baseball. CC Sabathia, thank you for joining us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with the state of Major League Baseball. I mean, you have an interesting perspective here in that you're still involved in the game today, and obviously you were a player for many years. Where do you think Major League Baseball is today as a league, as it kind of looks over the precipice on what is going to be clearly a very significant collective bargaining agreement after this season?
Yeah, I think I think where baseball's in a good spot. I mean, you got a lot of young stars right now. Connor Griffin, Travis Bazzana just got called up from Cleveland. We implemented the pitch clock a couple years ago. Fans are back in the ballpark. So I'm excited about the state of the game.
Now, I'll ask you point blank, do you think Major League Baseball would be better if there was a salary cap in place?
Oh, I have no idea about any of that. That's way above my pay grade. I'm not a player anymore. Don't have a dog in that fight, but I do. Um, I would, like to see the game continue to, keep going. Like I said, we're in a good spot and we're growing the game at a great rate. I would love to see the game continue to be played.
Well, let me ask you it in a different way that I do think you'll have a perspective on, which is like you played for the Yankees, they're the biggest market out there. You also played for some smaller market teams. Like, as a player, as you went through Major League Baseball, did you think this is fair? Like, this is a good system? Or were there moments where you thought, you know what? Like, this system is set up in a way where as teams spend hundreds of millions of dollars more than others, this seems silly.
No, I think players, we all think, the system is a system. We grow up playing in it and, it just kind of is what it is. So you get used to it. And, if there is something that comes, through the next CBA, players adjust to that too. So players are very flexible. They want to play the game, they love the game. And like I said, I just want to see the game continue to be played and us continue to grow it.
I mentioned CC, you'll be part of NBC's broadcast team for Sunday Night Baseball. What has NBC told you about what they want an NBC baseball game to look or sound like?
Um, like a traditional baseball game. I think NBC does a great job of producing, sports. Obviously, they have Sunday night football or football night in America. Now they did a great job of basketball. And I think, it's just great that they want to get into baseball or get back into baseball, I guess, because as a kid, NBC was, prevalent, in baseball. So it's good to be able to have them back.
And what do they want your role specifically to be?
I'm a broadcaster. I'm there call what I see during the game.
You've made comments in the past about how you've wanted to do more inventive things with broadcasting, that we kind of all know what a traditional baseball game sounds like, but you know, it appeals to you to try to get a little bit more creative with these things. Are there going to be ways where you can be a little bit more creative?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, NBC does a good job. They have inside pitch. They had inside the down on the ice. They have, Austin Rivers kind of in that role for basketball. So I've seen Adam Ottavino take that role. I did that in Atlanta for the Cleveland game. So they're thinking about different ways to keep people engaged and get younger fans.
Another comment you made that I wanted to talk to you about, because it's a distinct difference from several guests we've had on this show recently, is about retirement. I read it was an interview you did previously that you said you couldn't wait to retire because it kind of allowed you to live life for the first time, and that baseball is sort of, it's an odd life. It's constantly traveling and it doesn't really allow you to pursue all these other things. That's kind of in stark difference to many other athletes, including several I've spoken to on this show, Tom Brady or Lindsey Vaughn, who kind of like whatever it takes, like they want to push their career to the absolute maximum. Now, look, you did play for a while, but what
Played
is
for a
it
while.
that
Played for
you think?
19 years.
19 years, granted. Yeah, I mean, you you
That's a
pushed
long
it.
time.
You pushed it, but those athletes don't say the same thing as you, where they say, "I can't wait to retire." And so I'm curious, like, why do you think you're maybe built a little differently than some of these other? Look, you see it with Tiger Woods, right? It's like he'll do like whatever he can to keep playing. You clearly, you you were content, let's say that, with
I
retirement, and
I think everybody's different, man. I got 4 kids, at the time when I retired, my oldest was, 15 years old and, starting his baseball career. I wanted to be around, for my family. I like being home, I like being around my family, and like I said, you said I played for a while. I played for 19 years. That's a big chunk of my childhood and, my young adulthood playing a baseball game. So, I was 39 years old. It was time to retire, and I have no regrets. It was the greatest decision I ever made.
you have made some investments, post-career. I'm curious if one of your goals would be to be a minority owner, potentially in a Major League Baseball team.
Not right now. I'm good with my job at MLB. I have a nice role with Rob, and we have a good program there with Commissioner Ambassadors program. We're doing some good work. So it's good to be able to see kind of the game on this side. Like I said, keep growing the game, and just doing some things in the youth space. Right now that are occupying my time, and I'm having a lot of fun doing that.
How have you thought about managing your money post-career? I mean, are you do you have a team that works with you? Are you making these investment decisions on your own?
No, I have a team that works with me.
You know, what like, I as you think about the different investment opportunities, are there certain things that you particularly are passionate about investing in, or are you taking these each kind of case by case and thinking like, "How do I maximize my return?"
I'm taking them case by case. It just kind of depends. Mark Patrick put together a group of good athletes that, you know, do a good job of kind of filtering through investments, and that's where I'm kind of living at right now.
Right, Mark, a former investment banker, and then sort of transferred his career to, sports investment, high net worth individuals, like working with athletes. But just walk me through that a little bit. Does he kind of have these like meetings or whatever where he's throwing investment ideas by you? How does that work?
Yeah, both. I come with ideas. People come to me, and they throw stuff at us. So it's kind of both ways.
Major League Baseball's made a couple rule changes that have been very successful, I think, in terms of the pitch clock, and now we have the challenge system. I think people like that. As you look at the game today, is there another rule change that you have in mind that you think might make the game even better?
No, not right now. I mean, I think we've changed the game so much the last couple of years, whether it was the pitch clock, putting in the shift, the stolen base rules.
The
Now we got
ghost
the
runner?
ABS. So I think we need to let the game kind of breathe, like settle in, let these guys play under these rules for a couple of years, and but the changes that we made have brought people back to the ballpark. You see, kids at the ballpark in the middle of the week now because the game's going to be over in 2.5 hours. So you see fans super engaged in the ABS challenge and that coming on the board. So the changes that we've made, fundamentally to the game have worked. But I don't think you could keep changing the game every year and expecting, what we've gotten. So I think we should let these kind of rules that we've laid out kind of breathe for a couple years and see where we need to make adjustments after that.
You mentioned you have 4 kids and you discussed youth sports briefly. I'm curious your thoughts on sort of the state of Little League and youth baseball. I talked about this with Landon Donovan a couple weeks ago with youth soccer. He had a really, sharp take saying that youth soccer was too competitive and needed to be overhauled. Is it the same in baseball, or does the tradition of Little League kind of cut at that in a way where you think maybe youth baseball is in a better place?
No, I wish that kids would, not play travel at, so early, 9U, 10U, whatever it is. We all grew up playing Little League, which was 16 game schedule. When that was over, then you had a chance to play a different sport. So I would love to see, us not play travel until we're 12. So everybody has to play Little League on the small field, go through, whatever tournament you have to go through, try to get to Williamsport. And then after that, whatever perfect game team or whatever team you want to play on, is cool to travel. But I would love to see younger kids kind of staying in their neighborhoods and playing with their friends.
You're obviously sitting in Yankee Stadium here. I'm curious how you have negotiated sort of the your career in terms of your association with team. Is that something where you've got Indian fans in your life and they say to you, you're an Indian, not a Yankee? Like, is it a stress on you at all, or is it natural?
It's not a stress at all. It's a great thing to be able to, have a fan base in Cleveland, to have a fan base in New York, and now, going into the Wall of Fame in Milwaukee. So, Just blessed to be able to have such, great three fan bases to be a part of and great franchises to be a part of. So it's a blessing.
And tell me about your partnership here with, working with heart health.
Partner up with Plan with Heart, website. It's an educational website to help people understand, heart health and, their bad cholesterol. It's something that it's personal to me. I was out here pitching on this mound with, basically 90% blockage, and not understanding, my own personal heart health. So, it's easy for me to endorse things that are personal to me.
CC, thanks for joining us.
No problem.